Hello guys, welcome back. So in this video we're going to talk about Forex forecast for the weeks starting July 8th, Monday July 8th through Friday July 11th, 2025. So we're going to talk about a couple of pairs here, Forex pairs, and as usual I would love to start with the dollar index, which is DXY. But quickly before that, you might want to check the video that I made last week about this week's Forex forecast, and you see that everything that I outlined on how I want to see price, they all played out perfectly. I said I wanted to see price, move to the downside for the dollar index, and for every other asset class, everything turned out perfectly well. So for this week, this coming week, I would still want to see price fall down on the dollar index. If I zoom out on my charts, if I should zoom out on my chart, you would see the sell side liquidity here. This is where smart money, they are targeting price, they're targeting price to roll down to the sell side. And so I am still bearish until we take out this sell side here. So this coming week on dollar index, I am still much bearish, and more things for the confluence rather for being bearish is the fact that we've been seeing downward prices on the dollar index, and we rated this low, we came back up here, back up towards an inverted fair value gap. An inverted fair value gap is when we have a fair value gap and then we read through it, we trade through it, and we close outside the fair value gap. Once we close outside the fair value gap, we would now see the fair value gap acting as a resistance, right? So here's a fair value gap. We have three candles, 1, 2, 3, and there's a gap between these three candles. The high of this candle and the low of this candle, there's a gap here, right? That is a fair value gap. If I should extend that to the right, like I did here, usually I would expect price to come and then respect the fair value gap and then go back up. But in a case like this, when we break through it, we close below the fair value gap like this, we would want to see price treat this fair value gap as real resistance, right? So we just saw price come back to it and then trading into the fair value gap, acting as resistance and then falling down again. Now, like I said, the target is until we get to the sell side on the downside. So we have our market here this week. This is what we traded this week. So next week I would expect to see price open and maybe go up a little and then start falling down, and just as expected. Let's go to a daily time frame. Dollar index daily time frame. So this is a volume imbalance, right? This is a volume imbalance. I want to extend that to the right. These are volume imbalance. Volume imbalance is when we have two candles. It's an opening gap. Volume imbalance as well. It's when we have two candles like this. We have candle 1 and we have candles 2, and then look at the bodies of the candles. There is a gap between the bodies of the candles. The wick might overlap, but the bodies of candles 1 and body of candle 2, there is a gap, right? This would probably act as a reference point in the future. So we might see price coming in, closing in on the gap with bodies and then falling back down. So if we open this week on the daily time frame, if we are coming back up for any reason, I would want to see this opening gap protected. Like, I don't want to see price violate it, like closing above it. If not, we might see some upward movement. In any case, I would want to see price open, trade to this opening gap and then back down. If we trade to the opening gap, beautiful. But if we don't, good as well. But generally, I would want to see price move towards the downside this coming week. All right, so let's go to Euro USD weekly time frame. Okay, just like last week, I said I was expecting price to continue to the upside on euro dollar, right? So we rated this high, and I said I was expecting this high to be rated. We are still yet to trade above this high, so I am still bullish on euro dollar. Remember, euro dollar will do the exact opposite of what dollar index is doing. So if we're expecting bearish price on the dollar index, it's quite safe for us to see higher prices on euro dollar. But just doing that as a form of analysis alone is not enough. So we want to come to euro dollar to see reasons why we actually want to be bullish or bearish, right? So previously, before now, we saw a volume imbalance. Saw a volume imbalance here. I explained what volume imbalance is like a few minutes ago. So here's a volume imbalance. We traded into it and then rejected, came back to it again, rejected, and then finally we broke through the volume imbalance. Whenever we have this, whenever we break through it, it will act as real support this time. So we broke through it, we closed above it, we saw price coming back down, treating the volume imbalance as real resistance. Look at the bodies. The body stays right inside the volume imbalance, right? The wicks do the damage. Yeah, the wicks might trade below it. That's totally fine, permitted. Yeah, but the body stays right inside, which means order flow is still bullish, and I was saw price going up, raising this high, and then we had price do this very week. So this coming week, I will still expect price to open, maybe trade down a little, and then continue to the upside. I would generally want to see price go to the upside on euro dollar daily time frame. All right, daily time frame euro dollar. Okay, so on our daily time frame, I'm still bullish. Like I said, I'm still bullish. So worst case scenario, if price should come down a little, maybe just a little, trade into this, little fair value gap or this, and then continue to the upside. But generally, I'm bullish on the dollar, on euro dollar. All right, the USD card. USD card. So last week, if you remember clearly, I mentioned something about USD card, right? I said there is some other block here. I wouldn't want to see price trade above and close above this other block, right? Um, I said since we are bearish on the dollar index, I would also want to see bearish price on this Canadian dollar to the downside, and that's exactly what we saw played out nicely. So this coming week, I'm still bearish on the USD card. I'm still bearish on USD card, and ultimately we'll be targeting this low here. We'll be targeting this low this coming couple of weeks. So I'll call that sell side. Now, are we going to take out this sell side this very coming week? I don't think so. It's possible, but over the next couple of weeks coming, we would want to see price take out this sell side on the weekly time frame. Daily time frame USD card. All right, I mentioned this clearly last week as well, that we have a fair value gap here on the daily time frame. We've traded into the fair value gap, respected it nicely. The wicks do the damage as usual, and I said I would like to see price move to the downside, and that's exactly what we saw here, right? That's exactly what we saw here. Price moving to the downside. So this coming week, I'd like to see price really slow and then ultimately this other low for the weekly time frame. So on USD CAD, I am bearish. All right. So GBP USD weekly time frame. I remember I had this buy side liquidity. If I should extend my chart to the right, you see it here. Ultimately here, in fact, I would like to see this one. Once we take out this high, I would like to see this one taken out as well. So, which means we have a draw on liquidity. Draw on liquidity, which simply means where do we want to see price move to? Where do we want to see price magnet to? Like, I want you to see this buy side, see the buy side as a magnet, you know, and then you're seeing price as the metal object that is, dragging itself towards the magnet. We see buy side here as a magnet, so that's why we call it draw on liquidity. Feels like it's, drawing price to itself. So smart money, they are quite interested in whatever we have buy side or sell side. That's why we call them liquidity, right? So I am bullish on GBPUSD this week, not just because we have buy side here, but because we have everything telling us we should be bullish. We had a fair value gap here. Candles 1, 2, 3. There's an open gap here. We traded up, came back down, filled the fair value gap, you know, traded up again, formed a fair value gap here, came back down. We filled the fair value gap nicely. We're going up again, which means order flow is buy side, right? Order flow is bullish. Another fair value gap was formed here again, came back down, filled the fair value gap. And then what are we expecting? Ultimately to keep going up until we take our buy side. So order flow is bullish. We have a buy side here which is acting as a magnet to price, buy side liquidity. This is our draw on liquidity ultimately, right? So for the daily time frame for GBP USD, for our daily time frame, we still have the daily fair value gap here. Although we didn't fill it completely, we just got to 50% and then we continue moving back up. I think I mentioned this very fair value gap last week. Yeah, I mentioned this fair value gap last week that I would love to see price, trade down into it and go back up. We traded down into it, we're going back up before price market closed. Right. So this coming week I'm still expecting, bullish price movement. First of all, taking out this buy side before this one, obviously. So this is exactly what we have for our weekly forecast for next week. If you've watched this video to this point, I would like you to subscribe to this channel because we'll be having much more content coming your way. We have weekly forecast every week and then some other gems that you would always need as a trader. And at the same time, I want you to type on the comment section what pairs you'd like me to, touch on next week in form of weekly forecast, and then I can easily include these pairs and we can talk more about them. And until I talk to you next time, I wish you good luck and good trading.